Welcome to Inside the Speaker Studio. I'm Rich Gibbons, and today we're joined by change and market disruption thought leader, best-selling author, Keynote phenom from Down Under, and our friend, Peter Sheahan.
Thanks, Rich.
Welcome.
Cheers, mate.
Tell us, you've been on the circuit for quite a while now. You've been on hundreds, maybe even thousands of platforms. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you at a corporate event?
I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was the visiting scholar for one of the big universities doing a fundraiser. And so they look after you with those things, and they put me up at the Hyatt Hotel in a penthouse suite. Turns out there were two penthouse suites, one on either side of each other. So at midnight, I'm sleeping, getting my beauty rest for my speech the next day. And unbeknownst to me, a husband and wife who had recently been married that day storm into my room. The groom throws his wife onto the bed, ready to consecrate his marriage, only to find out that he was in the suite on the other side of the hallway, which would be my suite. Hotel owner was one of the sponsors for the big university event, and needless to say, he was a little bit embarrassed.
What's the one thing that people don't know about you that when they learn it, they're most surprised?
I would say clients are probably most surprised by the fact that I'm pretty wild when I let myself go. I have a reputation of being really buttoned up. I never go for the dinner and never drink anything 24 hours before I speak, and I'm intense and serious. And I have a client in Texas that I'd done maybe literally 50 jobs for. And they started giving me feedback that I was one of the most boring speakers they'd ever had off the platform, and that they wanted me to socialize with their people. And I was like, it's a bad idea. I'm red light, green light. Anyway, so my client eventually convinced me in Singapore to go out. Let's just say we went deep that night in Singapore, and they were like, now we don't understand why you never party and do anything with us, right? I'm actually more fun than probably people experience me to be. It's a serious thing. Clients pay a lot of money for us to do our work, and my theory is, even if that physically didn't affect you, you would never want the perception that affected you, right? Sure, right? But when I'm not speaking and I unleash, I'm pretty green light.
You obviously have a very multi-discipline practice. You're a platform professional. You have a robust consulting profession. You have your hands in a lot of different initiatives that help foster corporate change and innovation. But if you weren't doing any of that, what profession might you be pursuing?
Honestly, interior design. That is seriously what I would love.
You need to come to my house.
It's just my thing, right? And I constantly find myself doing houses over and over again like that.
Really?
I do architecture, but it's just too much math, right? Yeah. Too much sort of lines and engineering. I just like the creative process. I like picking colors. I literally pick every tile, every color, every fixture in every house I've ever lived in. I'm obsessive about it.
So your progression onto the main platform and into the corporate market was a very interesting one. Was there a particular moment where you had that aha moment and said, I could be good at that?
So I don't know whether I had an aha moment where I was like, I could be good at that. I think I had a moment of realization as to how impactful the platform can be. So I would have been 20 years old. I was running a bar in Sydney, Australia, and there was a sales superstars conference or something that had Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, and Jim Rohn. And I couldn't afford a ticket. And at the last minute, they sold a batch for about $100 each that was sitting right behind the pylon. So I literally sat at the seminar, kind of looking around the pylon. And Jim Rohn's 45 minutes or whatever he did just transformed the way I thought about the world. And I was like, wow, you can make a significant impact, condensed, immersive experience. Mm-hmm. And in fact, a big part of what Carrigan's Group it does now is that. I mean, we do 40,000 workshops a year for 1 million people. And it was birthed from that day. And my extension onto the corporate platform is just an extension from that belief that you can catalyze change in a short space of time. If you can create enough emotional engagement and bring enough intellectual firepower, you could change people's lives, literally.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with anyone, they don't have to be living, who would it be and why would you pick them?
So my first answer, and I'm a little bit worried about this going out in the market, was I'd probably invite Jesus Christ, because number one, anyone that can build that kind of a following, and two, build a 10% annuity business model, revenue, that's the ultimate enterprise, the Catholic Church, right? Other than that, I would say Winston Churchill. That guy had skills. I've heard stories about how well he would manage misbehavior from international dignitaries. Plus, he just looks like a lot of fun. He'd be half tanked on gin by the time the dinner started. I reckon that would be a good conversation.
Yeah. Other than yourself, of course, who would you say is your favorite speaker?
It would be a tie between a guy like Patrick Lencioni, because I think there is an absence of authenticity on the platform, and I find him particularly just down to earth and kind of real. I gravitate to that kind of energy. And then I would say Malcolm Gladwell. Now, Malcolm isn't as, I'd say Lencioni is more of a guaranteed hit than Gladwell is, but just the intellectual thinking that goes into and the process that goes into Gladwell, I like those two.
What would you say is your biggest pet peeve?
Blue slips on Southwest Airlines. You know the little blue slips for pre-boarding that you get?
No.
Oh, okay. So when you fly as much as like I would fly, not just for speaking, but just for my own company, my rule is get the most direct flight at the best time. And that could be Southwest, it doesn't matter. And Southwest have this policy where you can pre-board with a blue slip. And it's a good policy. It's for people with physical disability. It's for people who've had injuries. But anyone that's been to Florida or any of the other kind of major Southwest hubs will know, actually anyone who just doesn't look after themselves can get themselves a blue slip, right? So, I mean, I run a program on disability awareness. So I'm all about the blue slip as a construct. The abuse of the blue slip makes me crazy. Like seriously, I pay for these business select flights to get on first so I can get like an aisle seat. And then there's like 100 people get on before me waving their blue slip.
What would you say makes you the happiest?
That moment when you're provoking an audience in a really meaningful way, but in an area that they know they need to be provoked, right? So one of my clients once said, whenever you speak, it feels kind of like you slap us in the face, but we like the process. It's this sort of weird masochistic thing, right? But I enjoy that moment when I'm not fully conscious, they're in the journey, is like a dance taking place and people really move. The moment I feel most alive at home is when I can hear my kids laughing in the background, like that sound that fills the house. That's probably my happiest moment.
This has been Inside the Speaker Studio with Peter Sheahan. I'm Rich Gibbons. Thanks a lot for watching.